Biology is the science of life. It is the branch of science that seeks to understand the complicated processes and structures essential to life, and that also investigates the relationships between different types of living things. The natural place to begin our study of biology is by asking one simple question: what is life? In other words, what characteristics or traits are shared by all living things? The first characteristic of life is that all living things are made from the same basic chemical ingredients. All living things are composed of complicated chemical substances not found in non-living things such as rocks. For example, living things, or organisms, store biological information in long twisted chemical chains known as nucleic acids. The nucleic acid, called DNA, is by far the most common information-storing chemical. The information stored in DNA contains instructions that control all life activities. The second characteristic of life is that all living things are composed of cells. Cells are the basic structural units, or building blocks of life. Most, such as the box-like plant cells seen here, require a microscope to see. The third characteristic of living things is that they require water and a source of energy to run their life processes. Plants, for example, actually capture energy from the sun and use it to combine non-living carbon dioxide gas and water into sugars, which chemically store the energy. And while animals cannot capture the sun's energy directly, they can eat plants, plant products, or even other animals, and get the energy they need in those ways. The fourth characteristic is probably the most amazing life process, namely the ability to reproduce and grow. This means that living things produce offspring so that their own special form of life, or species, will survive for one more generation. This characteristic also means that small organisms that are in the early stages of life can grow and become larger. The fifth characteristic of life is the actual reason that organisms must reproduce. It is the fact that all living things have limited lifespans. This means that all organisms eventually wear out and die. In this way, old worn-out creatures are replaced by healthy young ones. Dead organisms also become food for other organisms, and as they decay, they enrich the soil. The sixth characteristic, that living things can respond to their surroundings, is extremely important. Being able to respond to danger and locate food are two obvious examples of this trait. But another important way organisms respond to their surroundings is by maintaining a balanced environment inside their bodies, a process known as homeostasis. A good example of homeostasis is the ability of humans to maintain a constant body temperature, even though the outside temperature is changing all the time. The seventh characteristic of life is one of the main ways that organisms respond to their surroundings, namely, through their ability to move. The lives of many organisms depend on being able to move to capture food and to escape from danger. Obviously, some organisms move around a lot and can do so quite quickly, whereas most plants, on the other hand, move so slowly their movements are hard to see. For example, when a cactus flower opens to the sun. An eighth characteristic of living things is that they are able to repair injuries to themselves, provided the damage is not too severe. Some organisms, such as this salamander, can actually regrow arms or legs that have been torn off. The world is a dangerous place, and without the ability to repair wounds, huge numbers of creatures would die before they ever reach adulthood. The ninth and final characteristic of living things is that they can undergo change over time. This means that species of living things are constantly adapting to meet the challenges of their environments. Through adaptation, organisms have been able to develop valuable traits that allow them to survive where others die. This is the main reason why there are so many different kinds of living things on Earth, including organisms like these who thrive in hot springs, places where the temperatures get so high they would kill most other creatures. As far as anyone knows, the Earth is the only place in the universe where life exists. We know from discoveries of ancient fossilized organisms that life appeared on Earth about 3.5 billion years ago. Those ancient fossils showed that the first living things were primitive microorganisms, similar to the bacteria seen here. Over countless centuries, these simple creatures were subjected to powerful forces from the Earth's environment. These forces brought about useful changes in some organisms and caused others to die off. And it was always those creatures whose traits best suited the environmental conditions that lived on and reproduced. Scientists refer to this process as evolution. In adapting to new and often harsh environments, primitive organisms developed a wide array of remarkable forms. And while most living things remain small and quite simple, consisting of just one cell, other organisms appeared that had large numbers of cells that over time specialized to carry out many different tasks, such as transporting oxygen in the blood or electrical impulses in the brain. Today, there are well over 1 million kinds of living things. They exist in a fantastic variety of sizes, shapes, and colors. And there are very few places on Earth where life cannot be found. For hundreds of years, scientists have been trying to understand how different kinds of living things are related to one another. One of the main ways they have done this is by attempting to classify organisms according to their traits. Classification involves placing organisms that share the same traits into the same groups. The classification system most commonly used today places organisms into any one of 5 basic categories that biologists call the 5 kingdoms of living things. Going from the simplest to the most complex, these kingdoms are first, the kingdom Monera, second, the kingdom Protista, third, kingdom Fungi, fourth, the kingdom Plantae, and fifth, the kingdom Animalia. The very simplest living things belong to the kingdom Monera. Many Monerans are of microscopic size. There are about 3,000 different types or species of Monerans. About half the species of Monerans are bacteria, while the other half are primitive plant-like organisms, like these, known as blue-green algae. All Monerans are unicellular, meaning they possess just one cell. Moneran cells are unique because they lack a nucleus. The nucleus is typically a rounded structure found only in cells of non-Moneran organisms. In animals, plants, fungi, and protists, the nucleus is where most of the information-storing DNA is located. But because monarans lack a nucleus, their DNA is spread around inside their cells. The other characteristic of monarans is that their cells are surrounded by a thick outer cell wall. Cell walls are found only in monarans, fungi, and plants. Some monarans, in particular the blue-green algae, can manufacture food using the sun's energy. Such organisms are called autotrophs. Other monarans, including most bacteria, cannot make their own food. These organisms are called heterotrophs. To review, the characteristics of monarans are: they are unicellular, lack a nucleus, have cell walls, and can be either autotrophic or heterotrophic. The next kingdom of living things, the kingdom Protista, consists of microscopic plant-like and animal-like creatures that are often referred to as protozoa. The kingdom Protista has about 30,000 species. All protists are unicellular. They have a nucleus, but lack cell walls. Like the monarans, some can make their own food and are autotrophic, while others are heterotrophic and cannot make food. The members of the kingdom Plantae are multicellular organisms. This means they are made from many cells. Plant cells have both a nucleus and a cell wall. Plants are autotrophs and are able to use the sun's energy to make their own food. There are about 285,000 species of plants. The members of the kingdom Fungi, the mushrooms, molds, and yeasts, are also multicellular organisms. However, unlike plants, fungi are heterotrophs and cannot make their own food. Fungi cells have cell walls and almost always have more than one nucleus. There are about 100,000 species of fungi. The final kingdom, the kingdom Animalia, is the biggest one. There are over 1 million species of animals. Animals are heterotrophs and cannot make their own food. Like plants and fungi, animals are multicellular organisms, but animal cells lack cell walls and have just one nucleus. As we have just seen, the world of living things is fantastically diverse. However, behind all of life's diversity lie important principles that are still not fully understood. But scientific research continues to add to our understanding each day, and with improved understanding come other benefits such as amazing new ways to fight disease, to improve food supplies, and to increase the human lifespan. True or false? Heterotrophs can make their own food. True or false? Plants are multicellular organisms. True or false? Bacteria are monarans. True or false? Homeostasis means maintaining a balanced internal environment. True or false? Mushrooms belong to the kingdom Protista.